7. Science and Technology. 7.1 Aditya L1. Why in the news? ISRO successfully launched India's first space-based observatory-class solar mission to study the Sun on September 2. To study the Sun. More on news. Times on September 18, ISRO successfully performed Trans-Lagrangian Point 1, L1, insertion maneuver. This marks the beginning of the spacecraft's about 110-day trajectory to the destination around the L1 Lagrange point. Times also, the Suprathermal and Energetic Particle Spectrometer, STEPS, instrument, a part of the Aditya Solar Wind Particle Experiment, ASPECS, payload, has begun the collection of scientific data. STEPS comprises 6 sensors, each observing in different directions and measuring suprathermal and energetic ions. The data collected during Earth's orbits helps scientists to analyze the behavior of particles surrounding the Earth, especially in the presence of the magnetic field of Earth. STEPS measurements will continue for the rest of the life of Aditya L1 mission. About Aditya L1. Times launch vehicle, PSLV C-57, 25th mission using PSLV XL configuration. Times it is planned to be placed in a halo orbit around the Lagrangian point 1, L1, of the Sun-Earth system. Times science objectives of the mission. Study of solar upper atmospheric, chromosphere and corona, dynamics. Study of chromospheric and coronal heating, physics of the partially ionized plasma, initiation of the coronal mass ejections, CMEs, and solar flares. Observe the in situ particle and plasma environment providing data for the study of particle dynamics from the Sun. Identify the sequence of processes that occur at multiple layers, chromosphere, base and extended corona, which eventually leads to solar eruptive events. Drivers for space weather, origin, composition and dynamics of solar wind. Times Aditya L1 carries 7 payloads, 5 by ISRO and 2 by Indian academic institutes. Remote sensing payloads: Visible Emission Line Coronagraph, VELC, Solar Ultraviolet Imaging Telescope, SOOT, Solar Low Energy X-ray Spectrometer, SOLEXS, High Energy L1 Orbiting X-ray Spectrometer, HEL1OS. In situ payloads: Aditya Solar Wind Particle Experiment, ASPECS, Plasma Analyzer Package for Aditya, PAPA, Advanced Triaxial High Resolution Digital Magnetometers. 88 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in Copyright symbol Vision IS. Times uniqueness of the mission: it will provide for the first time spatially resolved solar disk in the near UV band. It will provide information in the acceleration regime of CME which is not observed consistently. Onboard intelligence to detect CMEs and solar flares for optimized observations and data. Directional and energy anisotropy of solar wind using multi-direction observations. About Lagrangian points. Times what? For a two-body gravitational system, the Lagrange points are the positions in space where a small object tends to stay, if put there. For two-body gravitational systems, there are total of 5 Lagrange points denoted as L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. The Lagrange points for Sun-Earth system are shown in the figure. Of these 5 Lagrange points, 3, L1, L2, L3, are unstable and 2, L4, L5, are stable. Unstable Lagrange points lie along the line connecting the two large masses. Stable Lagrange points, on the other hand, form the apex of two equilateral triangles that have the large masses at their vertices. Times significance: these points in space for a two-body systems such as Sun and Earth can be used by spacecraft to remain at these positions with reduced fuel consumption. Placing satellite around L1 gives advantage of continuous observation of the Sun without any occultation eclipses. Times mechanism: at Lagrange point, the gravitational pull of the two large bodies equals the necessary centripetal force required for a small object to move with them. Times other key information: Lagrange points are named in honor of Italian-French mathematician Joseph-Louis Lagrange. Lagrange point L1 lies between Sun-Earth line and the distance of L1 from Earth is approximately 1% of the Earth-Sun distance. NASA ISA's Joint Solar and Heliospheric Observatory Satellite, SOHO, mission is placed near L1 point while NASA's James Webb Space Telescope is placed around L2 point. Conclusion: as ISRO embarks on this ambitious journey, the mission embodies the nation's commitment to advancing scientific knowledge and securing its place on the global space exploration stage. For more details on India's race to space and future missions planned by the ISRO, kindly refer to the article 7th January 2001 of August 2023 edition of the Monthly Current Affairs magazine. 7.2 Tidal locking. Why in the news? As the sun rises on the moon, ISRO is trying to wake up rover Pragyan and lander Vikram which were put to sleep to survive the lunar night. More on news. Times the Chandrayaan-3 mission was solar-powered, and its landing was planned to coincide with the daylight period on the moon. The diurnal temperature range on the moon is very high, making it difficult for Chandrayaan-3 mission's electronics to withstand the extremely low temperatures during the lunar night. 89 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in Copyright symbol Vision IS. Therefore, the lander and rover were put into hibernation a little before lunar sunset. Times reawakening would validate ISRO's lander rover technology for future space exploration. About lunar day. Times a mean solar day on the moon, i.e. lunar day is the time the moon takes to complete one rotation on its axis with respect to the sun. Times 1 mean solar day on the moon is 29.5 Earth days, 1 mean solar day on Earth is 24 HRS. Times therefore, the daylight on the moon or lunar day would last approximately 2 weeks, followed by approximately 2 weeks of lunar night. Times temperature on the moon. O daytime temperatures near the lunar equator reach a boiling 250 degrees Fahrenheit, 120 degrees C, while nighttime temperatures get to a chilly 208 degrees Fahrenheit, 130 degrees C. This high diurnal temperature range is caused because of the absence of an atmosphere and the tidal locking of the moon with the Earth. The presence of the atmosphere limits extreme temperatures by transferring heat around the planet. About tidal locking. Tidal locking refers to the synchronization between the moon's rotation around its axis, with respect to the sun, and its orbit around the Earth. It happens due to the gravitational force exerted by both the moon and the Earth on each other. Consequences of tidal locking. Only one side of moon visible, one side of the moon is always facing the Earth while the other is cloaked in perpetual darkness, giving rise to two sides of the moon. Near side, the portion of the moon, about 60%, that is visible from Earth. Far side, the portion of the moon that is never visible from the Earth. Small black square. The far side of the moon is illuminated in sunlight during the new moon phase, when the moon is invisible from Earth, and continues to receive light for nearly a fortnight. Small black square. Thus, it is dark only in the sense that its various topographical features were hidden until the Soviet spacecraft Luna 3 in 1959 photographed it. Small black square. Astronauts aboard the Apollo 8 mission of 1968 were the first humans to see the far side of the moon. Distortion of shape. The gravitation force that is exerted is always stronger on the sides facing each other. This force causes the bodies to stretch and distort. Earth's gravitational force deforms the moon, slightly squashed at the poles and a bulge at its equator. The same sort of deformation manifests itself in Earth's oceans, leading to alternating high and low ocean tides. Slow rotation. Tidal torque slows down the spin of the planet. When the moon formed, it rotated more quickly than it does today. The Earth is also slowing down, primarily due to tidal interactions with the moon. Hospitability. High diurnal temperature range impacts the potential hospitability on the moon. Impact of lunar night times shapes moon missions. Extremely low temperature makes it difficult to keep spacecraft systems alive. Moon missions would need a non-solar supply of energy to allow them to survive the lunar nights. Nuclear power sources, reactors and radioisotope power sources, RPS, appear as the most promising candidates. Aid in research. Since moon does not have atmosphere to distribute heat, everything has its own unique amount of time to heat up and cool down. For example, lunar rocks take longer to heat up and cool down than lunar soil. The different heating and cooling rates makes it possible to identify areas with large quantities of rocks. 90 www.visioneers.inf. Tidal locking in the universe. All the solar system's large moons are tidally locked with their planets. The bigger moons synchronize early in their existence, within hundreds of thousands of orbits. Some binary stars are tidally locked to one another. Also, evidence is building that many planets beyond our solar system are tidally locked with their stars. To know more about Chandrayaan 3, kindly refer to Article 7.1. Chandrayaan 3 of July 2023 and Article 7.1. Chandrayaan 3 soft landing of August 2023 editions of Monthly Current Affairs magazine. 7.3 Battery Energy Storage System, BESS. Why in the news? Union Cabinet has approved a scheme for Viability Gap Funding, VGF, for development of battery energy storage system. Key highlights of the scheme. Scheme envisages development of 4,000 MWh of BESS projects by 2030 to 31. It will provide a financial support of up to 40% of the capital cost as budgetary support in the form of VGF. VGF is a grant, one-time or deferred, provided to support infrastructure projects that are economically justified but fall short of financial viability. Scheme targets to achieve a levelized cost of storage, LCOS, ranging from Rupee 5.5-6.6 per kWh, to make stored renewable energy a viable option to manage peak power demand. LCOS reflects the total cost of the BESS divided by the energy it is projected to provide over the course of its useful life. A minimum of 85% of the BESS project capacity will be made available to DISCOMs to enhance the integration of renewable energy into the electricity grid and minimize wastage. Selection of BESS developers for VGF grants will be carried out through a transparent competitive bidding process to promote level playing field for public and private sector entities. About Battery Energy Storage System, BESS. It is categorized under the electrochemical storage system. Refer infographics for types of electric energy storages, which uses different electrochemical reactions to store electricity. Energy storage systems, have a multitude of applications in the energy sector and can be used independent of or as a part of power system infrastructure at various levels in generation, transmission, and distribution. Types of BESS. Standard, non-flow, batteries. It consists of pairs of plates, electrodes, immersed in electrolyte and separated by non-conducting materials. Lead acid, PBA, battery nickel cadmium, NiCd, battery. 91 www. Lithium-ion, Li-ion, battery sodium sulfur, NiS, battery or flow batteries. It uses tanks of electrolyte and membrane to control the flow of electrons and pumps to control the flow of electrolyte. Redox flow battery, RFB, hybrid flow battery, HFB. Need of domestic manufacturing of BESS. Economic, reduction of battery cell imports and prevention of outflow of forex reserves. Advanced cell manufacturing will enable electric vehicle deployment and reduce oil imports to a greater extent. or it may also result in growth of mining sector to feed its increasing demand via domestic raw material. Times Social, increasing opportunity for skill development, incubation centers and entrepreneurship programs. Or with the current advanced chemistry cells, ACC, battery manufacturing plans of 50 GWh, ISA estimates that the program shall generate a minimum of 5 lakh employment opportunities. Times Environmental, assistance in meeting Panchamrit targets, COP26 of the government. Or it will also assist in reducing air pollution in urban centers by reducing emissions. Or it will enable reintegration with grid to ensure stable and flexible power system operation. Challenges of battery manufacturing in India. Times Raw material availability, extremely low reserves of in-house materials like lithium, cobalt, nickel and battery-grade graphite, which are key constituents for manufacturing electrodes and electrolyte. Or absence of major partnership or a bilateral agreement with major raw material producing countries like Australia, nickel, lithium, Chile, lithium, Brazil, nickel, etc. Times Policies and regulations, policy uncertainty such as discontinuation of tax holidays, reduction of accelerated depreciation benefit, etc. Times Technology and material science, lack of appropriate technology transfer and exchange of information due to technology patents is also a key concern, limiting the technical expertise gained at local levels. Or lack of high-quality R&D infrastructure for research on advanced cell and battery manufacturing. Or absence of EV and storage policies and dedicated component to support indigenous battery manufacturing at state level. Times Financing, reluctance among banks financial institutions to provide loans for a new technology due to lack of technical expertise and a standardized financial model. Or lack of assured offtake and a guaranteed market, further aggravates the issue of financing. Times Miscellaneous. Or there are chances that a boom in the Li-ion battery manufacturing market can hamper the livelihood of players in the supply chain of lead acid technology. Or need to protect domestic industry against cheap and superior quality of Chinese imports. Way forward. Times Demand creation, implementation of a soft loan facility for DISCOMs transmission companies to deploy energy storage and battery solutions. Or facilitate demand creation of e-buses, e-cabs, e-autos, backed with MOUs and firm contracts with state transport units, STUs, cab aggregators and operators railways. Times Phased manufacturing program, incentivizing advanced cell manufacturing, supported adequately by states to encourage investors. Or there should be a minimum 50% of value addition to the cell manufacturing ecosystem in India by the manufacturer to be eligible for subsidy. 92 www.visioneers.inf. Or state governments can provide support under various categories, including infrastructure support and making provisions for subsidized utilities, such as electricity. Times Taxation, redesign GST rates to discourage imports and encourage domestic procurement of batteries, granting tax holiday to battery manufacturers, incentivize in-house R&D, etc. Times Recycling and sustainability, ensure effective implementation of extended producer responsibility, EPR, and digitize waste management to move from end-of-life approach to circular economy in BESS. 7.4 Vanadium. Why in the news? Researchers at the Geological Survey of India, GSI, discovered vanadium, a critical mineral from the Gulf of Khambat in Gujarat. More about news. Times Titanomagnetite ore containing vanadium has been identified in samples taken from the Gulf of Khambat. Or titanomagnetite is a primary source of the element. 88% of the world's vanadium is extracted from it, and is formed when molten lava cools rapidly. Times According to GSI, deposits in the Gulf were drained from the Deccan basalt mainly through the rivers of Narmada and Tapi. Times It is the first report of vanadium occurrence in the offshore sediments of India. About vanadium. Times It is a chemical element with the symbol V and the atomic number 23 and is classified as a transition metal. Times It is an abundant element in the Earth's crust, ranking 22nd in position in the upper continental crust. Times It is listed as one of the 30 critical minerals identified by the Government of India. Times Occurrence, it rarely exists as a free element in nature but can be found in about 65 different minerals, including magnetite, vanadinite, carnotite, and pitronite. Times It can be detected spectroscopically in the sun's rays and occasionally in the light of other stars. Times Physical properties. Or under standard conditions, it is hard, silvery grey metal. Initiatives undertaken for BESS in India. Times Legal status for energy storage systems, S, as a generator, transmission or distribution element, issued by Ministry of Power, MOP, in January 2022. Times Bidding guidelines for battery energy storage systems, BESS, notified by the MOP in March 2022. Times National Framework for Promoting Energy Storage Systems unveiled by the MOP in August 2023. Times Battery Waste Management Rules, 2022 to promote circular economy in BESS sector. 93 www. It is very ductile, can be drawn into wires, malleable, can be hammered into thin sheets, and resistant to corrosion. It does not react with water or oxygen at room temperature. Asterisk. To read more about critical minerals, kindly refer to Article 3.3, Critical Mineral of June 2023 Monthly Current Affairs Magazine. Reserves of vanadium globally. Times Brazil is the world's largest exporter of vanadium, 1/4 of total exports, with Russia and South Africa as the next exporters. Times China has the highest vanadium reserves and producer in the world as of 2022. In India. Times According to the Indian Bureau of Mines, the total estimated reserves of vanadium in India is around 24.63 million tons. Times in 2021 vanadium reserves were also found in Arunachal Pradesh. Applications of vanadium. Times energy storage, used in vanadium redox flow batteries, a type of rechargeable battery used for large-scale energy storage in renewable energy systems. Times steel manufacturing, used as an alloying element in steel production, where it imparts increased strength, toughness, and heat resistance to the steel. Or the addition of 0.15% vanadium strengthens cast iron by 10 to 25%. Times catalysts. Vanadium compounds are used as catalysts in the production of chemicals, plastics, and other materials. Times nuclear reactors. Vanadium alloys are also used to make nuclear reactors because of their low neutron absorbing properties. Times medicine. It is used for the treatment of prediabetes and diabetes. Times aerospace and aviation, used in the manufacture of aerospace and aviation components due to its high strength, lightweight, and heat resistance properties. Times other applications, used in the production of pigments, ceramics, and as a reducing agent in metallurgy. About vanadium redox flow batteries, VREF, they are a type of rechargeable flow battery that employs vanadium ions as the active materials. Working principle times VRFBs store their energy in two electrolyte tanks, which are connected to a stack of cells. Times vanadium has the unique characteristic of having 4 different stages of oxidation. Times in each of the 4 stages, vanadium contains a different electrical charge and is therefore used as a catalyst to store energy. 94 www.visionia VREF versus lithium-ion batteries. VREF lithium-ion batteries energy density, amount of energy compared to its weight. Times lower energy density times suitable for large-scale industrial-scale operations. Times higher energy densities times suitable for small devices, such as laptops and cell phones. Lifespan longer life cycle, can handle more charge-discharge cycles, decay and lose capacity over time. Cost initial installation cost is higher, economic in the long run, initial cost lower. Sustainability less waste and recyclable, vanadium electrolyte can be easily reused and repurposed in other batteries. High disposal costs, lithium is challenging and currently uneconomic to extract. Safety safer, uses aqueous electrolytes, which are not flammable. Less safe, contains flammable electrolytes. Capacity expansion easier, by using larger electrolyte storage tanks difficult. Conclusion. Demand for vanadium is expected to increase due to its increasing usability. VREF's potential as a renewable, sustainable, and highly safe energy storage system make it an exciting technology. R&D efforts will have to be initiated to meet the domestic demand for vanadium. 7.5 Y chromosome. Y in the news. Scientists have successfully sequenced the Y chromosome using long-read sequencing techniques. More on news. Times Y is the last human chromosome to be sequenced end-to-end or telomere to telomere, T to T. Or telomers are structures made from DNA sequences and proteins that cap and protect the end of a chromosome. Times the sequencing can improve understanding of many health conditions thought to be related to the changes in the genes on the Y chromosome. Or loss of the Y chromosome is associated with increased risk of cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and cardiovascular disease. About chromosomes and their sequencing. Times chromosomes are thread-like structures made of protein and a single molecule of DNA that serve to carry the genomic information from cell to cell. Times in plants and animals, including humans, chromosomes resides in the nucleus of cells. Times humans have 22 pairs of numbered chromosomes, autosomes, and 1 pair of sex chromosomes, XX or XY, for a total of 46, 23 pairs. 95 www.visionia's genome sequencing. Times sequencing simply means determining the exact order of the bases in a strand of DNA. Times approaches to genome sequencing or short-read sequencing. In this, genome is broken into small fragments, usually 50 to 300 bases, before being sequenced. It is more effective for applications aimed at counting the abundance of specific sequences, profiling the expression of particular transcripts, etc. Or long-read sequencing. In this, DNA is fragmented and tagged for sequencing to keep track of each fragment, followed by local assembly. It provides sequences that are easier to distinguish and can, therefore, be assembled more easily, handling the confusing repetitions and loops of the Y chromosome. About Y chromosome. Times it is one of the 2 human sex chromosomes, X being the other. Or human genome has 22 pairs of autosomes and 1 pair of sex chromosomes, XX in female and XY in male. Times Y chromosome is male determining because it bears SRY genes which are responsible for certain sex characteristics, such as testes. Or Y also has a lot of junk DNA, sequences that don't seem to contribute to traits. Or about 66% of the Y chromosome is composed of repetitive DNA, which requires specialized DNA sequencing and analysis techniques to determine their arrangement. Or all individuals who have a Y chromosome are related to a single Y-bearing ancestor, who likely lived around 300,000 years ago. Times Y chromosome is passed down from male parent to male offspring. So, the information on Y chromosome can more specifically illustrate ancestry of one direct lineage of male ancestors. Conclusion. Sequencing of the Y chromosome has unveiled profound insights into human genetics, offering a glimpse into our ancestral past and potential future advancements in medicine. 7.6 Gene Drive Technology, GDT. Y in the news. Genetically modified mosquitoes have been used in outdoor but controlled conditions in India, Brazil, and Panama, which showed promising drops in mosquito populations, around 90% during the trials. More on the news. Times advances in genome sequencing techniques coupled with our capacity to genetically manipulate them offers opportunities to systematically control population of mosquitoes by interfering with their reproduction. About GDT. Times GDT is a type of genetic engineering technique that modifies genes to alter the typical rules of Mendelian inheritance. Mendelian inheritance refers to certain patterns of how traits are passed from parents to offspring. Times components. A gene drive consists of 3 key components, or the gene to be spread. Comparison between X and Y. Chromosome X, chromosome Y. Chromosome can be contributed by eggs or sperms, always contributed by sperms. Longer, contains about 900 protein coding genes. Smaller, contains just around 100 protein coding genes. Occurs paired in female and single in male. Normally occurs single in male only. Represents 5% of entire human genome. Represents 2% of entire human genome. Contains XX genotype. Contains XY genotype. 96 www.visionias.org. The Cas9 enzyme to cut DNA, and CRISPR, a programmable DNA sequence that determines where the enzyme should cut. CRISPR, clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, are repetitive DNA sequences developed as a method of repurposing bacterial immune system to make breaks in DNA at precise locations. Cas9 is an enzyme that acts as a molecular scissor that cuts the DNA at a specific location in the genome. Times outcomes. The genetic material that encodes for these 3 elements gets inserted into an animal's DNA, in place of the naturally occurring gene. It increases the likelihood that a particular suite of genes will be passed on to the next generation, allowing the genes to rapidly spread through a population and override natural selection. Times applications. GDT can be used to exterminate insects such as mosquitoes that can spread malaria, dengue, and the Zika virus. Gene drives can also be used to control invasive species such as rodents. Times concerns. Ecological. Long-term disruption in ecosystem like disturbance in balance of food web, potentially leading to unintended ecological consequences. Legal. Gene drive could get out of control and spread uncontrollably across international borders. Security. It could potentially be used for bioterrorism or other malicious purposes. Ethical. Deciding which species to target and the irreversible nature of GDT raises complex ethical and moral issues. Conclusion. GDT offers unprecedented potential for addressing global challenges like vector-borne diseases and invasive species, while also raising profound ethical and ecological concerns. Striking the right balance between innovation and ethical responsibility will be pivotal as we navigate the uncharted territory of gene drives. 7.7 News in Shorts. 7th July 2001 Hyperloop. Times. Tata Steel and 2TR Hyperloop, deep tech startup operating from IIT Madras, signed a memorandum of agreement to jointly work on development of Hyperloop technology. Times. Hyperloop is a proposed ultra-high speed, at over 700 miles an hour, ground transportation system for passenger and cargo. Hyperloop concept has been promoted by Musk and SpaceX, and other companies. It has 3 essential elements. Tube is a large, sealed low-pressure system or vacuum tubes, usually a long tunnel. Pod is a coach pressurized at atmospheric pressure that runs substantially free of air resistance or friction inside this tube using magnetic propulsion. Terminal handles pod arrivals and departures. Times benefits, cheaper and reduce air travel between big cities, less polluting, etc. 97 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in. Copyright symbol Vision IS. 7th July 2002 Kakrapur Nuclear Power Plant, KAP3. Times. First largest indigenous 700 MV Kakrapur Nuclear Power Plant, KAP3, started working in Gujarat. Times. KAP3 is also the biggest indigenously developed variant of the pressurized heavy water reactor, PHWR. In 2020, it had achieved its first criticality, when each fission event releases a sufficient number of neutrons to sustain an ongoing series of reactions. PHWRs use natural uranium as fuel and heavy water as moderator. Times. Enhanced safety features incorporated thin-walled pressure tubes. They can lower the severity of an accidental rupture of the pressure boundary passive decay heat removal system, on lines of similar technology adopted for Generation 3+ plants to negate the possibility of Fukushima-type accidents, happened in Japan in 2011. Streamlined containment, to reduce the containment pressure in case of a loss of coolant accident. Times. India is currently on the second stage of its 3-stage nuclear program. Enrichment of U-235 isotope up to 3 to 5% is required for electricity generation. 7th July 2003 R&D in telecom, broadcasting, and ICT sectors. Times. TRAI released consultation paper on encouraging R&D in telecom, broadcasting, and ICT sectors. Times. Objective is to review existing R&D ecosystem, identify bottlenecks in promoting R&D and recommend interventions to improve R&D in ICT sector. As per TRAI Act 1997, TRAI has been mandated to make recommendations for development of telecommunication technology. Times. Significance of R&D in ICT sector for national security, development of new technologies to protect critical national infrastructure. Supporting Industry 4.0, by innovations that enable autonomous systems, predictive analytics, and real-time decision-making. Improve consumers' experience and to protect them from cyber attacks. Economic, to achieve objectives of Digital India program and impetus for becoming a $5 trillion economy. Times. Challenges, less number of organizations involved in R&D in telecom and broadcasting sectors. Limited commercialization of research due to weak interlinkages. or no centralized governance body overseeing R&D activities in ICT sector, or MNCs focus on software instead of hardware, leading to lack of product development, or dormant telecom centers of excellence, TCOEs. Times initiative taken, or indigenous 4G and 5G core technologies developed by CDOT, or National Digital Communications Policy, 2018, or Telecom PLI scheme, or Center for Excellence in Wireless Technology, QIT, and Autonomous Research Society of IIT Madras. 98 www.visionias. 7th July 2004 Monoclonal antibodies, MABs. Times the center decided to procure doses of monoclonal antibody from Australia. Times monoclonal antibody, an experimental therapeutic, was also imported for treatment of infected patients during 2018 Nipah outbreak in Kerala. O Nipah virus, NIV, is a zoonotic virus and can be transmitted through contaminated food or directly between people. Times monoclonal antibodies, MABs, are artificial antibodies that mimic the activity of our immune systems. Or they are produced through a process that involves extracting specific antibodies from human blood and then cloning them. They are clones of just one antibody, and they bind to one antigen only. Or they are made by homogeneous hybrid cells, B cells, derived from the same parent cell. Polyclonal antibodies, PABs, on the other hand, are a mixture of antibodies that are secreted by different B cell lineages. Or they have been used in the treatment of cancers, Ebola, HIV, etc. Times MABs can effectively bind with a part of the viral envelope that attaches to the human cells to gain entry into the body. Or this effectively neutralizes the virus. Times concerns with MABs, side effects such as cytokine release syndrome reactions, allergic atopic disorders, impaired immune function, etc. 7th July 2005 WHO Hypertension Report. Times WHO has released its first ever report on hypertension titled, Global Report on Hypertension, The Race Against a Silent Killer. Times about hypertension. Or it is a condition of higher blood pressure than normal, measured by diastolic and systolic blood pressure levels. Or systolic pressure is the maximum blood pressure during contraction of the ventricles and diastolic pressure is the minimum pressure recorded just prior to the next contraction. Times key findings. Or globally, higher prevalence of hypertension among males, 34%, than females, 32%. Or in India, 31% of the population have hypertension. Or only 37% of Indians with hypertension are diagnosed and only 30% get treatment. 4.6 million lives in India can be saved by 2040 with better control. Or cardiovascular disease deaths attributable to high systolic blood pressure are higher among females, 54%, than males, 51%. Or risk factors include higher salt intake, tobacco use, obesity, alcohol consumption, and physical inactivity. Times interventions in India. Or India Hypertension Control Initiative, ICI, a collaborative initiative between MOHFW, state governments, Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, and WHO India, aims to improve hypertension control using evidence-based treatment protocol, uninterrupted drug supply, patient-centered care, task sharing, and digital information system. 7th July 2006 Gujarat Declaration. Times WHO has released the outcome document of first WHO Traditional Medicine Global Summit 2023 in form of Gujarat Declaration. Or it reaffirmed global commitments towards indigenous knowledge, biodiversity and traditional, complementary and integrative medicine. Or it serves as a catalyst to harness the potential of traditional medicine and focus on their integration in national health systems. 7th July 2007 Scrub typhus disease. Times caused by a bacteria called Orienia tsutsugamushi. Times vector, through bites of infected chiggers, larval mites. Times no vaccine is available to prevent scrub typhus. Times common symptoms include fever, headache, body aches, and sometimes rash. Times affected regions, rural areas of Southeast Asia, Indonesia, China, Japan, India, and Northern Australia. 99 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in Copyright symbol Vision IS. 7th July 2008 RNA, ribonucleic acid, study of Tasmanian tiger. Times in a first, researchers have sequenced RNA from any extinct species. Times Tasmanian tiger, known as the thylacine, was a dog-sized striped carnivorous marsupial inhabited in Australia and adjacent islands. Times RNA, like deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, carries genetic information and plays a crucial role in protein synthesis. While DNA contains an organism's genetic code, or RNA carries genetic information it receives from the DNA, synthesizing proteins that an organism requires to live and regulating cell metabolism. Times benefits, or information on the metabolism regulation of species, or help in understanding the causes of past pandemics. 7th July 2009 Dolly sheep. Times Sir Ian Wilmot, who led the team that created Dolly, passed away recently. Times Dolly was the first mammal to be cloned from an adult cell. Times Dolly was created using a cloning method called somatic cell nuclear transfer or SCNT. Or in SCNT, nucleus of an egg cell is removed and replaced with nucleus of a donor adult cell. Or because 99.9% of cells' DNA is contained in nucleus as chromosomal DNA, resulting animal will share almost exactly same DNA as original donor cell. 7th July 2010 Universe expansion dispute. Times researchers proposed a new way to settle the universe expansion dispute. Times universe began nearly 13.7 billion years ago, in an event that astronomers called Big Bang as just a single point, then expanded and stretched to grow as large as it is right now, and it is still stretching. In 1929, Edwin Hubble provided first mathematical description of universe's expansion. However, finding precise rate of universe's expansion, called the Hubble constant, remains a challenge. Times Hubble constant is calculated by comparing observed brightness of a supernova, the largest explosion of a star that takes place in space. Analyzing changes to cosmic microwave background, CMB, radiation left over from Big Bang event. Using gravitational waves, ripples in spacetime produced when massive astronomical objects like neutron stars or black holes collide with each other. Times, however, there is a discrepancy in measuring Hubble constant, as all three methods estimate Hubble constant based on information from different stages of the universe. CMB is based on a much younger universe while other two are based on an older universe. Times now researchers including from India proposed to study collection of gravitational lensing and their time delays to determine Hubble constant. Gravitational lensing occurs when massive objects distort and magnify light from objects behind them, such as a galaxy or a quasar, acting as cosmic telescopes and making distant galaxies appear brighter. 7th July 2011 CE20 Times ISRO has successfully tested the CE20 cryogenic engine to be used in mission Gaganyaan. Cryogenic engines use fuels at cryogenic temperatures, 152-273 degrees C, and are comparatively more powerful than solid and liquid propellant engines. Times it is the first cryogenic engine to use a gas generator cycle using liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen propellants combination. Times it has a capacity of 28 tons of fuel and will be used as the upper stage of Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle Mk3, LVM3. 7th July 2012 NASA's OSIRIS-REx asteroid samples capsule. Times NASA's OSIRIS-REx asteroid samples capsule from asteroid Bennu lands on Earth. Times OSIRIS-REx, origins, spectral interpretation, resource identification, security regolith explorer, launched in 2016, is the NASA's first mission to collect a sample from near-Earth asteroid Bennu. In 2020, OSIRIS-REx spacecraft collected samples of dust and pebbles from asteroid Bennu. Asteroids are rocky objects that orbit the Sun. They are the remnants from formation of solar system over 4.6 billion years ago. They are also called minor planets as they are much smaller than planets. Times Bennu is a B-type asteroid, i.e., it contains significant amounts of carbon and various other minerals. Hence, it reflects about 4% of the light that hits it, Earth reflects about 30% and Venus reflects about 65%. Bennu was formed in first 10 million years of solar system's creations. It has not gone through a lot of composition-altering change through billions of years, which means that below its surface lie chemicals and rocks from the birth of the solar system. Times significance of asteroid samples. To better understand planet formation and origin of organics and water that led to life on Earth. Benefit humanity by learning more about potentially hazardous asteroids. 7th July 2013 SLIM and XRISM. Times Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, launched an H-2, a rocket carrying the SLIM moon lander and the XRISM space telescope. Times SLIM, smart lander for investigating moon, will attempt to pull off Japan's first ever soft lunar landing at Shirley crater in early 2024. It aims to demonstrate pinpoint landing technology which can enable landing anywhere on the moon. Times XRISM, X-ray imaging and spectroscopy mission, is a collaboration involving JAXA, NASA and the European Space Agency, ESA. It will study the universe in high-energy X-ray light from the Earth's orbit. 7th July 2014 Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, MOXIE. Times MOXIE, NASA's oxygen-generating instrument on Perseverance Mars rover, has successfully completed its Mars mission. Times MOXIE produces molecular oxygen through an electrochemical process that separates one oxygen atom from each molecule of carbon dioxide pumped in from Mars' thin atmosphere. It has proved to be a viable technology for astronauts on Mars to produce oxygen for fuel and breathing. It was developed by researchers at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. 7th July 2015 Juno mission. Times NASA's Juno mission completed its 53rd close flyby of Jupiter. Times about Juno mission. Launched in 2011 for a 5-year journey. Aim, probe beneath Jupiter's dense clouds and the origin and evolution of Jupiter, solar system, and giant planets in general across the cosmos. It will also study Jupiter's faint rings for scientific investigations. In its extended mission, it continues its investigation of Jupiter through September 2025, or until the spacecraft's end of life. 7th July 2016 K2-18b exoplanet. Times NASA's James Webb Space Telescope discovered the presence of carbon dioxide and methane on an exoplanet. Times K2-18b exoplanet is 120 light-years from Earth. Planets that orbit stars, other than our Sun, are called exoplanets. Times James Webb Telescope is a space telescope specifically designed to conduct infrared astronomy. Times its high-resolution and high-sensitivity instruments allow it to view objects distant or faint for the Hubble Space Telescope. 7th July 2017 Magnetospheric substorm. Times study of energetic ion variations during magnetospheric substorm intervals can help improve the accuracy of space weather forecasting. Times magnetospheric substorm is a short-lived process in which a portion of the energy, extracted by the interaction between solar wind and Earth's magnetosphere, is released. It depends on interplanetary magnetic field, IMF, solar wind velocity, and on solar wind dynamic pressure. or the average duration of the substorm is about 2 to 4 hours, or the southward direction of IMF is a prerequisite for substorm occurrence. 101 WW, 7th July 2018 Super Blue Moon. Times Super Blue Moon is the convergence of three lunar occurrences, a full moon, a supermoon, and a blue moon. A blue moon refers to the second full moon within a single month, a rare event since full moons typically occur once a month. When a season experiences 4 full moons, the third full moon is deemed the blue moon. Or supermoon happens when the moon is passing through or is close to its perigee, and is also a full moon. Times full moon at perigee, supermoon, is about 14% bigger and 30% brighter than a full moon at apogee, called a micromoon. 7th July 2019 Errata. Times in June 2023 Monthly Magazine, due to typographical error in Article 7.1, Outer Space Governance, the headquarters of the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNOOSA, and Article 7.4 Rare Higgs Boson decay the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, were given incorrectly. Times correct information is, or headquarters of United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNOOSA Vienna. Or headquarters of the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN Geneva. 102 WWW